Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to read a story called Grandfather Tang's Story. And Red is going to help me tell the story because it's her favorite puzzle story. You're probably saying, what's a puzzle story? Well, a puzzle story is a story that you tell using a puzzle. In that case, this is a special puzzle called a Tangram, and I'm going to show you later what that puzzle looks like. The triangles and the square. I'll show you that later. But just want to talk about a couple things before we read the story. The first thing is you have to use your imagination station in your brain because you can make anything possible if you use your imagination. So you got to use your imagination because there could be magic in the story. And the other thing is it's a story about friendship. It's fun to do things together. I know a lot of you have best friends. Your brother or sister could be your best friend too. But you know what? Best friends don't always have to outdo each other. They don't have to build a taller building than their friend or swing higher. They can just enjoy swinging or they can enjoy building. But let's read the story and find out. So, there is a little girl and her grandfather. And he's going to tell her a story using the tangrams. I think that's very cool. Here they are sitting by the tree. See them? Okay. Now you can just see the shapes. They're actually supposed to be foxes. Grandfather Tang and little Sue were sitting under a peach tree in their backyard, and they were amusing each other by making different shapes with their tangram puzzles. "Let's do a story about fox fairies," said little Sue. So Grandfather Tang arranged the 7 tangram pieces into the shape of a fox. Then Grandfather Tang made another fox with little Sue's 7 tangram pieces, and little Sue clapped her hands as her grandfather began. And I'm going to show you how to make the fox. I'm going to change my screen for that. So, this is the tangram. So, this is the tangram that we're talking about. So, it's got 2 large triangles, and it's got 1 medium triangle, and 2 small triangles, and a parallelogram, and a square. And the square looks the same on all sides. I'll show you so you can see. It doesn't matter whether I turn it, it still looks exactly the same because all the sides are exactly the same. So here I go. I'm making a fox. I'm going to use the large triangles to make the body. And here's the head. And I got to make the ears. And of course the tail. Ta-da! Well, anyway, they're talking. Although Chow and Wu Ling were best friends, they were always trying to outdo each other. That's what I was talking about. One day, this rivalry almost brought their friendship to a tragic end. They were sitting under their favorite willow tree beside a river, talking about the magic powers. "I can change myself into a rabbit as quick as a wink," boasted Wu Ling. "I'll bet you can't do that." "I can too," said Chow. "Cannot," said Wu Ling. "Anyway, actions speak louder than words." And he changed himself into a rabbit. "Not bad," said Chow, smoothing his whiskers, "but watch me do better than that." And before Wu Ling could blink, Chow changed from a fox into a dog. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll do the rabbit first. So I got to use the big triangles to make the rabbit. Here's the body. And it looks like I need to use the square for the head. And it looks like I need to use, sometimes you don't know which shapes to look when you look at the picture. But I'm doing what I know first. And then I'm going to go back. The last 2 pieces, that has to be the paw. So I think it goes like this and like that. That's the rabbit. The dog, using the large triangles again, making the body. and the medium triangle to make the body. And this looks like this could only be the foot and the front leg, the head, and of course the ear. Get the idea? Okay, show you. Now you can see. Well, now when Chow changed himself into a dog, he not only looked like a dog, but he felt like a dog, and he acted like a dog. This is very important. He bared his teeth and lashed his tail. Wuling shivered and twitched his nose. "I love rabbits," Chow growled, "and I'm going to get you and gobble you up." Uh-oh. The dog edged closer and closer, and Wuling's eyes grew bigger and bigger, and he was frightened, too frightened to move at first, but then he thought, I'll be safe if I can climb up that willow tree. And his little puff of a tail grew long and bushy, and his tall ears shrunk as Wuling transformed himself, that means changed, into a, did you say squirrel? Do you see the squirrel in the tree? Now I'm going to make the squirrel. Wuling sprang into the willow tree and scrambled to the top. "Chow will probably turn himself into a cat so he can climb up the tree after me," Wuling said to himself, "but he'll never catch me. I'll jump from tree to tree and he won't be able to follow me." Of course Chow thought about changing himself to a cat, but that's just what Wuling expects me to do, he said to himself. What can I do to surprise him? So he thought and thought, "I know, I'll swoop down upon him from above." And he turned himself into a, so let me do the squirrel, and you'll think about what the other animal turned himself into. Okay, so I'm going to use the large triangles for the body. Right, so here's the body. And here is the head, the ear. We got to make that bushy tail, of course, right? Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Gray squirrel, swish your bushy tail. Wrinkle up your little nose. Hold a nut between your toes. I'm trying to figure out where this goes. Gray squirrel, there it is. Let me move it back so you can see. Pretty cute, huh? Okay. He turned himself into a, did you guess, hawk? And that's what the hawk looks like, the tangram of the hawk. Let me read the words. Chow circled round and round in the sky above the willow tree, searching for Wuling. Wuling peered through the leaves of the tree, looking for Chow on the ground. Round and round Chow circled the willow tree until he spied Wuling. "Kek, kek, 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 kek," he shrieked as he zoomed down upon the squirrel, and Wuling trembled. Chow's beak looked sharp enough to pierce right through him. "If only I lived in a shell house," he thought. "Then Chow couldn't hurt me. I wonder what he's going to change into." Chow stuck out his fierce claws to seize Wuling, but Wuling dove toward the river below the willow tree, and as he dove, he tucked in his head and tail and legs. What animal can do that? And turned green and changed into a, let's see, did you say turtle? Can you see the turtle? There we go. And that's what the turtle looks like in the tangram. Wuling climbed up on the mossy bank in the middle of the river, and he thought he was safe because he looked as if he was part of the rock. And Chow circled round and round, searching and searching until the sharp eyes spotted the turtle, and he swooped down, down, down toward him. But just as Chow reached him, Wuling plunged into the water. "Follow me and you'll drown," he cried. "Don't worry," said Chow, plunging right behind Wu. His body grew longer, covered with scales. This is the clue. And he snapped his spiky toothed jaw as he turned into a, what do you think? Green, snapping. Did you say crocodile? You're right. Wu Ling circled round and round as he plunged down, down, down to the bottom of the river. And Chow lashed his wicked tail as he plunged after Wu Ling. Just as they reached the bottom, Chow clamped Wu Ling in his spike-toothed mouth. "Now I've got you," he bellowed through his clenched teeth. "Oh, no, you haven't," cried Wu Ling, who grew smaller and smaller and changed himself from green to gold and transformed himself into what is it going to do? What can get outside of his mouth? Did you say goldfish? If you did, you're right. And he swam out of Chow's mouth between his spiked teeth, and then he hid in the patch of cattails, and Chow churned the water with his lashing tail. As he charged into the patch after Wu Ling, with his head swinging back and forth and his eyes darting here and there, and he searched for Wu Ling, and Wu Ling knew that Chow would not give up until he found him. "I must fly from here." It's going to fly, so an animal that flies. And he started to honk. Honk, honk, that's a big clue, as he transformed himself into did you say goose? Chow charged after him, but Wu Ling spread his wings and took to the air. Chow watched him fly to a small island where a flock of geese were feeding, and by now he was not only very angry, he was also very hungry, and he decided if he could not catch Wu Ling and a goose would make him a good dinner. And he splashed through the water toward the island until he reached it. I wonder what he's going to do then. "Honk, honk," called Wu Ling, and he took to the air. Oh my gosh, now they're all in the air, flying. He closed his eyes and he sank toward the river's bottom just as it touched. However, he had an idea, and he popped himself up again, a goose. So now they're both geese. Moments later, Chow was flying after Wu Ling and the other geese. He could hardly hear or see them at first, but he did not let that discourage him. He didn't give up, because you shouldn't give up. Calling upon every last bit of strength, he forged ahead because he wanted to find his friend. And each flap of his wings brought him closer, and the wedge of the geese slowly grew bigger, and the honking grew louder, and at last Chow found himself flying beside Wu Ling. "I'm tired of our silly game," he cried. Come back with me to our willow tree." But before Wu Ling could answer, something stung Chow's right wing, and he sank to the ground. Oh my goodness. Toward the ground. It was a hunter. Oh my goodness. See? A hunter had shot him. Wu Ling flew down beside Chow, placing his left wing under Chow's smashed right wing, and together they fluttered down to the edge of the forest, helping his friend to land. And the hunter ran toward him. "Fly away," Chow urged Wu Ling. "Save yourself. Fly, fly." "I won't desert you," cried Wu Ling, and with a mighty roar, he changed himself into did you say lion? That's not the best part of the story. This is the best part of the story. The hunter raised his bow. I'll show you the picture. The hunter raised his bow and sprang forward and knocked the bow from his hand, and the hunter fled. He left because the lion scared him. And then Wu Ling and Chow returned to their shapes, and Wu Ling helped Chow to his den, where he took care of him until he was all better. The end. I really like this story, and I hope you do too, because he learned a valuable lesson. It's great to do things together, and it's great to be best friends, but you need to care and take care of each other too. And, sometimes you don't have to compete all the time.